Hey YouTube! As usual, no planning. This might end up being quite a long video. I might be in a talkative mood. Anyway, so if you remember a couple of weeks ago, I did a bit of a clickbait video where I said what's in the Thomann box. The reason I went to Thomann was to buy strings for this. This is my Washburn B28 from, we're not actually sure, the serial number doesn't link up normally. It's like a few digits. I think it's 1979 to 81, something like that, not 100% sure. I've had this for 10 years, maybe more than that. I bought it, this is my first Japanese, of the Japanese collection. I did have my first bass was a West Tone, then I had an Aria Pro, but I wasn't aware of the significance of Japanese. So this one was the first Japanese one, which I got very cheap in a guitar shop in Glasgow because I don't think they knew what it was. So as you can see, it's an 8-string bass, which is like an octave bass. I did do a video of this relatively recently, but this is the first time I've ever cleaned it or done it up, because when I bought it, it worked, and I didn't really know how to do up guitars, sort of thing. I've changed strings, and gradually over the years learned how to. I think about 5 years ago, I found out what, or maybe 10 after that, I found out what a truss rod did and all these things. One of the things I always said about this bass is this is an 8-string bass that's got an intonable bridge. So it's got it's got a saddle for each string, which 8-string basses don't tend to have. So it's, obviously you've got a thick string and a thin string, so they're not both going to want to be exactly the same length. There's not a huge difference actually. Now that it's set up, the A string, there's quite a, okay, there is a difference. There's like 2 or 3 millimeters in it to get it in tone properly. So now I've got new strings on it, which is not the first set of strings I've ever put on this in the 10 years I've had it, but the first full set. I think the fat strings might have been original. No, I remember having a hell of a time trying to find strings for it, because the problem was, because it's you'll know this if you've had a through strung bass before. So the strings go in the back like on a Telecaster. Look at the wood it's made of. I didn't polish the back, it's neck through, wooden truss rod covers, etc. But I was saying, long scale strings. I've had a similar problem with the Vulture, which I mentioned a couple of weeks ago. The strings start to taper at the end, up here, and these particular strings don't taper until past the nut, and it's like, yes, result. If you've got one of these are the strings you want. So they are, of the thick strings, 100, 80, 60, 40, which is kind of slightly light. Normally they're 105 to 45. And then the thin strings are 45, 35, 25, 17. So that's like a sort of piccolo bass set, which is what I did last time I bought strings for this. I just bought piccolo strings and only replaced the thin ones, because they kind of go rusty quicker, because they're not all wound. That one's wound. That one's wound. So there's a plain. The EAD G string is a plain string. The thin one, it's not wound. Yeah. So what a difference it made cleaning it up. Really, I mean, just look at it. I mean, it looks absolutely brand spanking new. And I wasn't really aware it was really that grubby, but when you actually took it to bits and then polished it up, what a difference it made. And see the wood the fretboard's made of, it's probably not going to show up here. It's not really, but the wood and the fretboard is absolutely stunning. It's like, it was just so dull, and then obviously I polished up the cool fret markings as well. So this is the first time I've ever really played it intoned properly. And with new strings, and the pickups were manky, and generally just cleaning it. It's like, when you clean your car, it goes faster, kind of like that sort of feeling. I always feel that way. I need to get a slightly longer strap, but this one's just on the high side. Maybe not. As you can see, this hangs quite well on a strap. That's because I moved the strap button years ago from there to down here, which maybe doesn't look perfect, but I mean, it makes it so much easier to handle. And I'd imagine that's probably the same as the 4-string bass version of this. It just makes it so much easier to handle, and it's not a light bass. I wouldn't have said it was particularly heavy. Doesn't feel heavy when it's well balanced, and because it's 8 strings on it, if you ever pick up a packet of bass strings, imagine 2 packets of bass strings. That's how much weight you're adding, and then you've got the tuners. Well, basically that's the only difference between this and a normal bass, I suppose. As you can see, it tunes, the thin strings tune from the back. These tuners I thought I was going to have to replace because they were a bit crunchy, but actually I had to replace wee white plastic washers in a couple of them and then just tighten them up and clean them and put them back on, and they're working great. These are the original ones. The problem I would have had was that, see if you look at where the wee screw is, see how it's on the end, and they're quite often they're on a 45-degree angle. Well, on a 45-degree angle here, they would be hitting off this piece of wood. So it has to be tuners like this. So if they were knackered, I would have struggled to get ones that would have fitted. But these are the original, not branded Washburn, which I'm surprised at. So they will be Goto. The tuners on the top of this are old style Goto. Instead of having, now normally on the end of the head, you get a screw that tightens up the tension. These don't have that. Instead, these have a sort of sleeve thing. If I can really put it up, you can see it. Like here you can see there's a wee hole there. Well, this actual bit here rotates. That's how you tighten up and slacken them on these particular ones. The brass nut is now brassy coloured rather than being dark and sort of just generally smingy looking. I don't know if smingy is the word. Yes, so another YouTube exclusive. The reason I didn't do a video yesterday was because I was doing this. I just took my time at it because it's mine. It's my favourite guitar. I think if it came down to people ask me what's your number one, I think it's this. Because it's so unusual, it's a bass and a guitar, and it's a Washburn stage series. Fantastic. Yamaki built, and it's got a triangular, the Toblerone neck. It's just awesome. Maybe actually, where the strap is, I maybe can't. You see my hands hitting off this one. I'm kind of trying to get to the last fret, but I mean I can still reach it without any problem. You could maybe get even tighter if I was behind it, but that's a trade-off amount of weight. So about this, I did this yesterday, and then when I was in the studio yesterday, the day before, there was a guy giving away a 4x12 speaker cabinet on the local Facebook buying sale page. And it was like, oh, I'll have that because I've got speakers in the attic that I've tried to sell. I can't remember, two of them were Eminence ones that came out, a Marshall 2x12 combo. I can't remember exactly what model it was that I upgraded from my pal Alan, and I kept the old speakers, and I had these white ones which I can't remember where they came from, but it's like I tried selling these on eBay. I think I was even trying to sell them for like a tenner a pair or something. Or I don't think I tried a tenner for all four, but I think it was like the two white ones were a tenner and the two black ones were, I think I maybe tried them for 15 quid, no interest whatsoever. And I'm so mean, I did not want to throw them out, so they've basically just been kicking about. I keep moving them and blah blah blah. So now I've got a 4x12 with two white speakers and two black speakers in it. It was a little bit grotty on the bottom, a bit because it's made of sort of chipboard. I don't know. I think the guy mentioned it might have been a Marshall cabinet, but I don't know. An angled 4x12 anyway. I just painted. I stained the bottom bit where all the Tolexes come off black, and it doesn't actually look that bad. This can't be a permanent feature in here. I didn't realise that actually. Maybe if I stand over here, if you can still hear me. This is my 3x12. I didn't realise it was actually smaller than a 4x12, but you can see there's it's 6 inches thinner because the speakers are all wedged a bit closer together. And I'm using my Sovtek MiG 60, which I absolutely love. I don't use it for. I used to use it for videos years ago because it used to be my only amp until I got the wee Laney, which is it just seems more sensible for in the house. But I mean, this amp is absolutely stunning, and I paid so little for it. Got it brand new, didn't know what it was, really. And basically, I don't think you could get a tube amp for what I paid this for, like second hand. I don't even think you could get a broken tube amp for what I paid for this brand new working. And I put snakeskin on the front, so I'm using this for a rarity. Ideally, I probably should. It's not really it's not a bass head. It's a guitar amp head, but I mean, I'm running 412s off it, and three 12s in the bottom cabinet. So this is possibly the first person on YouTube, or maybe the first person in the world ever to play through a 7x12 rig. It's actually the first time I've ever the first thing I've ever had against the 3x12, because I always thought that was really cool. But now it's sitting there going, I've got an 8-string bass, I should have 8 speakers, I've only got 7. That's small potatoes. So this amp is going to go, or the cabinet's going down to my pal Ali's barn. He's got an outbuilding at his house with a sort of gym in it and his drum kit set up, and he's got a bass amp. He's got a wee, I think is that a wee 1x12 orange combo down there. But I figured a 4x12 is smashing. That means you can stick it down there in the corner and it can just stay there until he throws it out, or if I ever find any other use for it. I'm giving it to him, but I mean, maybe I might reclaim it if I ever find a proper use for it. I doubt it. Seems to sound pretty good. It'd be handy to just having it there, even if it was just a case of something to put my wee laney on top of. It's just like, it's a nice table type thing, and then if anyone else is using the studio, they can just use it, because it's got no sentimental value to me. It's not the end of the world if it gets broken or something like that. I was going to stick it's missing a grill on the front. I looked up grill cloths and stuff, but it's like 25 quid or something, and it's just like, I'm not going to be looking at it, and it's quite cool. It's got the 2 white speakers. Yeah, so this is probably I'd imagine probably the first time anyone's ever played on YouTube an 8-string bass, because nobody's got one anyway, through a MIG, the sovtek, which very few people have anyway, and then through 7 speakers, which very few people have anyway. So it's like, this is pretty much world exclusive, I'm definitely sure. It is loud as hell. I'm running it at like 3 and 3, and I'm using the low input mode, just because I don't want to put it into the high one, because I think it'll just, all the guitars will fall off the walls in here, I think, if I do that. Yeah, so these amps, I've still never seen. The guy from JHS Pedals has got a big wall of these sitting behind him, so he obviously absolutely loves them, but he's never done a video on them. I think he's hinted that he's going to at some point do a sovtek video to actually explain what the hell it is. From what I gather, it was meant to be like a Marshall GTM or something. Actually, kind of sounds a bit like a GCM 800. And what they did was kind of what Marshall did with the original Marshalls. They were trying to copy a Fender bass breaker, so they didn't have all the exact parts because they were American parts. So they used what they could get in London. So maybe some of the values of some of the items on it weren't quite exactly the same, and maybe different types of valves. So I think this is basically what happened with the sovtek. Is trying to copy it again, but using Soviet military hardware, so bits of submarines and tanks and stuff in there, so maybe some of the values are slightly different. Ended up with this absolute beast, which I use in the studio and will be using live once we ever start playing. Sovtek, the 3x12 is going to absolutely kick ass. Yeah, so I'll make a little bit of noise on it. Yeah, I don't sound that loud from here. Yeah, so I'll come back over here. That's what I'm playing through the mics there. It's not mic'd up or anything like that. So it's like a 12-string. It plays so much nicer than it's ever played before. It's live. I suppose it's kind of like having an octave pedal, but it's real. And I'm playing with a pick. You play it with your fingers. Because it's got the thin string on top of the thick string, it's when you play with your fingers, you're kind of pulling up the way, so you don't really hear the octave strings very much. They're actually quite close together. I've never actually tried. Neck pickup or P-bass pickup. The amount of air that combination, I was going to say combo, not combo, but yes, combo, but not in the combo amp terms. The combination of the 7 speakers is absolutely, it's almost blown. I can feel it wafted in my trousers, even at like a third volume and into the low input. More is better. What I've been using with this, I'm going to try and use the Behringer Fuzz pedal, and this thing becomes an absolute monster. I might actually have to turn the volume down a little bit on it, just so I've got a little bit more to play with. Right, I've turned the level down a fair whack. And ready for the the herd of, I was thinking it was a herd of buffalo. Fuzz! Oh, I can't remember how it's going. Start off with something I know. I was playing a Sabbath one. Try a Sabbath one I can actually play. Some people say my love cannot be true. Let me believe my love and I'll show you. Even the sun, the stars are by my side. Try playing chords. Before you know the way I'm going to feel. I'm going to feel. Going to feel. Oh yeah. What is the most amazing thing when you're playing this is how much you can just stop everything, because you just imagine there's a whole band playing there. You know, it's like, and then it's just dead when you put it. It's great. Traffic outside. Actually quite hard work playing this. I took this into the studio, a band cranking this one just before this lockdown. One time the bass player couldn't make it and he cancelled too late to cancel the studio, so I took this in thinking, and it does kind of hurt your hands. Maybe just more of a psychological thing, because it's such an absolute mammoth. you're totally, oh, I don't think you necessarily need to be. Can you hold down the strings quite lightly? Sort of. But really, there's no way you can run a 4x12 and a 3x12 in through. It's a 60 watt amp running at 30 watts, I believe, is what the low input does. It is about half the volume. It's also kind of keeps it clean on the MIG. If you're on high, the normal input, it doesn't really do clean. It does it at this volume, you know, but it sounds kind of like this with the fuzz pedal on. I think I'd imagine. I'm not even going to try that. I think the neighbours would complain. They haven't complained so far because I'm not really playing that loud normally. I mean, if I just talk, sort of hear me over that, maybe. Not very much. Yeah, so I'm not quite done with this bass yet. The bridge, yeah, I said it was intonal. I've never seen anything like it before. I always considered it was a bit of an afterthought because, as you can see it's actually recessed into the body. You can actually just get to the intonation wheels where they are, but because it's set neck, I think if this had been a bolt-on neck bass, they would probably have surface mounted the bridge. I have no idea what the bridge is made of. It's got brass saddles, and see these bolts on the top. This shows you how little I knew about this. I've had this for 10 years. I didn't realise that these two bolts on either side don't adjust the height. These are actually caps. So you take off that, and then in below it, there's like the actual threaded wheel has got a slot in it to adjust the height. So and then you put these caps on it to hold it wherever it is you set it. Quite interesting stuff. There's actually one of these a B20, not a B28 on eBay right now, and I'm just not tempted by it. Well, I sort of tempted. I decided that in my great washburn collection, I didn't really need the B20 because if I really wanted to play a 4-string bass, I could just take off the thin strings. If I would have wanted to do that, I've got plenty of other basses. So I'll maybe eventually one day get one, but it's really low on my priorities list. My washburn list really consists of wanting the guitar version. There is a 12-string guitar version which is like this, an A20 or an A2012, but it's really just the A20. Doesn't need to be 6 strings is okay for me. There's a sort of baby pink one. I think I kind of fancy that. That would make my stage set up quite nicely. My stage series set up quite nice. But 8-string basses are great fun. My pal Ivor's just bought one. He's had a shot of this a few times. First time he wasn't really sure about it, and then he wanted another shot just to make sure. He's bought one of the, is it Hagstrom? Make one, which is the one that there's a picture of Jimi Hendrix playing one. They were kind of kicking about in the 60s, early 70s, and you can still buy them new. I think that's pretty much one of your only options about getting an 8-string bass. They are short scale, you know, all the tuners are at the top, so I think it's quite a different beast to this. But I'm gagging for a shot of it, so hopefully there'll be an 8-string bass video for that, because I have lent him this one twice, so I really think I should get a shot of his one. To be fair, it is only new, so I'll wait till he's had it, you know, a couple of months before I get a wee shot of it. Just to see what playing another one's like. The only other one I've ever played wasn't it was a Hamer. That to be honest, I was sitting by it. It wasn't expensive. It was a bit bland though. This one, it's an 8-string bass, but it's an amazing shape. The Hamer one was just kind of like a sort of like a P bass, sort of, but a bit sort of melty, just totally nondescript, and it was just jet black. But it was a 12-string bass, so what you had there was 2 octave strings, you know, 2 of the thin one, then 1 of the thick one, and I remember it was in Guitar in town. I remember saying, well, there's a 12-string bass, and the guy's like, nobody can play that though. And I was like, Peter, I already had this. So I was like, can I get a shot of that? And he was like, Peter, you're brave, here you go. And then because I could play this, I knew what to do on it. You know, it's all down strokes and hit it hard. And the whole shop just up here, everyone just gradually came round, like, what the hell is that? It was quite good, but I didn't buy it. It was one of those things that I knew how much it cost to replace the strings on this. Actually, the strings on this weren't actually that expensive. I got stung badly buying them from America. It was GHS strings I bought maybe 10 years ago, and it was like, they weren't too bad. It was not like £15 a set. That's all right. And then it went over. It must have been over whatever the customs limit was. So it was like £15 for the strings, and then you've got to pay tax on it, which was like £6 or something. And then it was like a £12 handling fee, so it ended up just being pure. It was like £40 or something for the set of strings. It was like, yeah, not really paying for that. So these actually come in from Phone. I think they were about 15 quid, which is kind of. I thought it was quite weird because I actually bought a set. I can't find them just now. They're in here somewhere. Just a tip. These are the strings I used to buy years ago, just like the Warwick Red Label, whatever they are, or they are stainless steel. I always thought they were really good. The thing against them is they don't have the threaded end bits. You know, they're just raw. But I think it was about £10 for the 4-string set, which are basically just the thick 4. And it was only an extra £3 for the other strings, so the thin strings were like less than £1 each. I thought it was really good. I don't think an awful lot of people buy them. But as I said, long scale, that's what you're doing. Actually, the long scale strings are going to put on that because I think they will fit. This one has a wee bit of an issue with. Well, in saying that, I've not noticed it playing at all, and to be honest, I've completely forgotten about it. If you look up at the top, see halfway down the first fret, where it starts to taper, it tapers there. So ideally you want it to taper beyond the nut. It doesn't, it tapers there. It doesn't seem to make any difference. This is surviving unbelievably well, tuned to C sharp, by the way. I think my previous position on through neck has changed a little bit. I think a through neck on a bass, and especially when tuned to C sharp, makes it possible. Those are just standard strings. They're not like 105 or 100s. So I think that really makes a difference. Because when I was playing that last in the studio the other night, and it was like at the end of one of the songs, I just let it ring, and it just kept going, and it was like. I was kind of waiting for it to die, and it was still there, and the band's talking and stuff like that, and they're looking at me, and it was like pure. So I just slowly faded it out with the volume control. I didn't stop it, but it was like the sustain on it's just ridiculous. So I think the through neck thing does make sustain better, but it's not as noticeable when you're playing in the house at small volumes. But when you're playing it at thunderous, absolutely stupid volume, because the guitarist in the Black Sabbath band he's got his own custom built amp thing, which is it's actually not that dissimilar to the sovtek. He has to run it at full bung, and it's like wow, it's loud. You can't hear the drums, you can only hear the cymbals. I was in the studio 3 weeks ago, and I took in that, which is a 150 watt bass amp, and I had it dimed all the way up, maximum gain, maximum volume, and I was able to keep up, but that was it. It's like you shouldn't be able to play like a 150 watt amp in like a rehearsal studio and still be able to hear anything else in the room. It was unbelievably loud. Yeah, fun. Obviously this is going to sound different if I actually put it through a bass amp. That's not a bass amp. Yeah, so there you go, half an hour of chatting away. See what I found in the loft earlier on, which I'd actually forgotten about. A guitar I never finished. I've got a Firebird that I made by me. This is Beach Kitchen Worktop. And what happened was I got this Bigsby, or a fake Bigsby off my pal, and I put it on and I hated it. So I'm still not 100% deciding what I'm going to do with this. I've actually got another Bigsby, someone else, my pal Chrissy gave me, which is black, which might fit. I also bought a roller bridge for it. I never cut the nut properly, so this might actually end up being quite a good guitar. It's got a Hondo neck, a left-handed neck, that's why it's upside down. So I'm going to warm in pickups, which I don't actually think I've ever even. I don't even know if they're connected. Looks like they are connected. Quite looking forward to getting that, and I'm going to have to put in more knobs, because I think one volume control is just not, it's not enough for this, especially when you get a Bigsby. I kind of like the idea. The reason I gave up on it is because I wish I'd just put a stop tail on it, or not a Tune-o-matic bridge, but more a, like a badass wraparound. I think that would have been absolutely smashing for that, instead of that Bigsby thing, which put me in a worldwide hatred of Bigsby's, and I just don't like them. But kind of changed my mind. I mean, you'd like to change your mind over time as you learn things. I got a shot of my pal Jerry's. It's a sort of Gretsch White Vulcan. It's not a Gretsch White Vulcan, it's a copy of it. It's like a £300 one or something like that. Like a big acoustic sized electric thing, and then it's got the Bigsby on it, and it's like, suddenly the Bigsby makes sense. It's not for, metal or, Hendrixy type, Floyd Rosey type things. It's for having on a big massive semi-acoustic thing where you can kind of go wah 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 at the end. It's not really a sort of do type thing. It's more of a sort of hit the note and then and you have to move at hundreds. So I'll see. Be interested to see what in the next few days what actually that guitar ends up turning up like. I'm still not 100% sure. I think it'll be really good. I spent ages on it. I mean the finish on it's absolutely brilliant. Imagine how long it took to polish kitchen worktop to make it look like that. You can see, but when I say kitchen worktop, it is solid wood blocks, like steam stuck together. Same as the my double neck, which is normally on the wall there, which isn't there now since I got the Vulture. I don't think there was really anything else I wanted to say. Really, just more of a sort of hanging out video. It's not. I don't think I'm really going to be able to put this on as onto my Washburn Facebook page because it's not really about this bass. Although it is. I'm going to go out and say, sorry, just I'm going to go out and try and get some nice pictures of it, because I mean this thing looks new. I think, see, because it was just grimy, I think the grime has protected what's in below from UV light and the air. So actually when you clean it up, it just looks absolutely fantastically new. I mean this thing, I didn't realise this was really good condition. There's a few bashes in it, but not many. Like a few wee chips and stuff, but I think it's 40 years old. I'm not really going to be complaining about that. Really, the only bad one is that one there. But you can't see that. But again, just look at the wood in the back. I always felt a wee bit with this guitar that, see, if they just look at that. Look. I mean, why is that? That looks like the top of one of your 10 grand PRSs. I always felt with this one, I felt because it's through neck, maybe, I mean, it does have like a sort of the tiger maple top on it, which is quite nice. It's very, very much the coffee table era. But I always felt I would rather have if it had, you could see the stringers for the through neck on the top, and basically this one, see if you'd just not bothered putting a top on it and had it with that and that and that, I think it would have looked absolutely smashing. Not going to change it. I'm not complaining about it. Well, I'm a wee bit, but not very much. And it's really just, I hadn't, last time I changed the strings on it, or even when I say cleaned it, I get cleaned the outside, but never actually took. This one went for the thorough clean. I took all the tuners off, stripped them, put them on, gave it a deep clean, which just makes everything just nicer. Everything's just absolutely fighting fit, ready to rock. Love this thing. I should be playing it up here because I've got the only 8-string bass I've ever seen that's got an intonable bridge, so playing it up high it should be working better than any other 8-string bass. But then I've got to try and get right. actually getting out of breath playing it, not just sore hands, out of breath. Chances. Shows you there how much I turned the fuzz pedal down, how loud those drums were. Rock on, keep happy.